your partner cheated and says that they're sorry, how do you know if it's real remorse or if it's just damage control? And if you're the one who is betrayed, do you ever learn to trust again when the person who has hurt you is the one who is supposed to feel like home? Today, we're going to talk about the real trauma of affairs, what real repair can look like when there's cheating that happens in a relationship, and what it really takes to heal from the kind of extreme betrayal. Today's video is going to be a masterclass on rebuilding trust after infidelity and how you can come back stronger after something like this happens. I'll be drawing on the work of Dr. Janis Abrahms Spring, who is one of the preeminent researchers of infidelity and has written multiple books on this subject. The Gottmans, who have done a ton of research in this area and have an entire training as part of their couples therapy methodology on trauma and rebuilding trust after infidelity, as well as the research on attachment and my own experience working with couples who have struggled with infidelity in their relationships and are trying to heal. If you're new here, my name is Wes. I'm a couples therapist, and this channel is devoted to helping you improve your relationships. Let's get into it. The first thing you need to recognize is that trust is not just damaged, it is shattered. Affairs are full-blown attachment trauma, and the person who is betrayed suffers from PTSD. Post-traumatic stress disorder. As Dr. Janis Abrahms Spring talks about in her book, Getting Past the Affair, an infidelity shatters the betrayed partner's assumptive world, which is their belief that the relationship that they were in was safe and had a foundation of security. The betrayed partner no longer knows what's real, what's really true, or what they can ever rely on. We know from the Gottman's research that betrayal isn't just about sex, although that often plays a role. It's about secrecy, it's about avoidance, and it's about an eroded emotional connection. Infidelity can often be seen as a protest against this feeling of disconnection in the relationship. It can be a way of pushing back against a partner who you feel like is no longer there. Or it can simply be a way of looking for emotional connection, a safe harbor in another person. The problem is, of course, that this is a huge act of betrayal. It's incredibly hurtful and traumatic to the person who's been betrayed in the relationship. And to begin the healing process, the betraying partner needs to understand that your partner doesn't just feel hurt, they feel unsafe in the relationship. So you have to start from that place of understanding. So what does real remorse look like? When an affair partner is found out, usually there's some kind of apology. But real remorse isn't about guilt or about saying, I didn't mean to hurt you. It's about emotional accountability in action. The Gottmans refer to this as the atonement phase of overcoming infidelity. Remorse must be earned in this phase of the relationship. So practically speaking, what does this look like? Well, let's talk about it. The first step here is taking full accountability for your actions as the partner who betrayed the other. So that means no making excuses, no blaming, like I did this because you never see me anymore, you never talk to me anymore because I felt distant from you. All of those are just excuses. You have to take full accountability for what you did. You were the person who took the action of cheating in the relationship. And that's step one. Step two is transparency without defensiveness. In order to rebuild trust with your partner, you need to be transparent about what transpired. You may need to be more transparent about your life than you were before. For example, if your partner doesn't trust you as much, they may want to look at your text messages or things like that. And some of this transparency is necessary in the beginning. Remember, the key here is to not get defensive about it, but to own up to your mistake and hold yourself accountable by being transparent about exactly what transpired without holding things back. It doesn't mean walking your partner through step by step the graphic details of everything that happened in the affair, but it does mean being transparent about what you did and the ways that you hurt the relationship. The third step here is to get really curious about your partner's pain. Understand what's going on for them. Understand what they are feeling. And when they express what they're feeling, not getting defensive. Not trying to say, well, I'm hurt too, but simply sitting with the pain, being a source of comfort for them in that moment. Feeling sad, angry, upset, untrusting towards you. Those are times where you need to be the one who is solid. You need to help co-regulate them, and you need to be a secure base for them as best you can. You need to take their pain and hold it with them and be a source of comfort as best you possibly can. And the last step here is repeated demonstrations of safety, consistency, and care. Trust is rebuilt in small steps over a long period of time. And so you need to be the source of consistency and care for them during this rebuilding process. From an attachment framework, the goal is to help your partner rebuild a sense of safety in your presence. That means being able to stay grounded and emotionally available even when they feel triggered or flooded. This can be really hard to learn how to do, and it can take a lot of practice, but it is something that can be incredibly helpful when your partner is going through the tumultuous ups and downs emotionally of having to deal with having been cheated on. Let's take a second to talk about trauma responses and what you might be feeling, because the rebuilding process is going to be really hard for you. And if you've decided that you want to stick it out and go through this, you're going to be experiencing a lot of really painful emotions. Let's talk about what that could look like. So betrayal triggers a cascade of nervous system responses, things like panic, flashbacks, shutdown, periods of rage, obsessive or intrusive thoughts that come up about your partner or their affair. And getting past the affair, Dr. Janis Abrahms calls these trauma echoes. They're signs that your attachment system has been to alarm mode, and you as the betrayed partner might be experiencing extreme fluctuations in physiological and emotional symptoms. This is not being dramatic. This is trauma. And if you're watching this video and you've been cheated on, then you probably understand what I'm talking about. As the betraying partner, person who did the cheating, your job here is to become a co-regulator for your partner. You need to learn how to breathe slowly and breathe present and calm with your partner when they're going through these ups and downs of emotional responses. You need to learn how to offer grounding when they spiral, helping them notice that their feet are on the floor, helping them pay attention to things around the room, helping them tune into their body. All of these can be helpful ways to help ground yourself in the moment and not feel totally overwhelmed. You need to learn how to listen patiently to your partner without getting defensive. And you need to practice showing up even when it's hard. As the partner who was betrayed, it should be your goal to stick with these emotions when they come up, to practice staying with these emotions and not turning to harmful coping mechanisms, like drinking, drug use, distraction, like work or TV, but to try to the best of your ability to sit with these emotions, feel them, and allow yourself to handle the pain slowly. The next step in recovering from an affair is to rebuild trust. And when your trust is shattered, it can be really hard to do this. But the way that it's done is through small, consistent actions over time. I hear all the time in couples therapy from betrayed partners that they feel like their partner just wants to move on like nothing happened. Like they keep saying, "Oh, I said I was sorry, and why can't you just get over it? Or why can't we just move on? Or why can't things just go back to the way they used to be?" Of course, the person who had an affair often wants to just apologize and move on. To them, they feel like they have offered remorse. They feel like they have done everything that they can do. And they get frustrated sometimes when their partner who they cheated on is still having a hard time in dealing with these really extreme feelings that come from emotional trauma. Unfortunately, that's just not how trust works. Trust isn't restored by apologies. It's rebuilt through daily embodied consistency. The Gottmans call these rituals of connection. And in her book, How Can I Forgive You by Janis Abrahms Spring, she insists that forgiveness must be earned through daily repair. So here's what can be really helpful when you're trying to rebuild trust. Full disclosure to your partner of what happened in the affair. Again, we don't have to go into every single tiny detail, but if your partner has questions, you need to answer them. You need to answer them truthfully and not trickle out over time more and more things that occurred. Okay? If you were emailing with that person, texting with that person, meeting up with them, you can't just tell your partner that you were emailing them. You need to be open and honest about all the things that were happening and about the degree to which that trust was broken. Only through full transparency will you begin to be able to repair. Things like shared calendar, passwords, or other methods of transparency, like being able to check your text messages every now and then, things like that, or open social media accounts can be really helpful. Expressions of gratitude and acknowledgement. So the partner who had the affair continuously expresses gratitude, saying things like, "I'm so glad that you stayed. Thank you for staying. I know that this isn't easy, but I love you, and I'm so glad that we're working through this." Asking things like, "What do you need today to feel a little bit safer?" And finally, don't ask for immediate forgiveness. It's not going to go over well, and it's just not possible. So acknowledge that this change takes time. It is a long process that you need to be able to work through with your partner. And the more that you can acknowledge that internally as the partner who had the affair, the better you will be at continuously showing up in these small ways to rebuild trust with your partner. Acknowledge that time and patience are really non-negotiable here. Research shows that it can take anywhere between 2 and 5 years to fully recover from an affair. And this is only if both people are truly committed to doing the work to heal. Usually forgiveness is not the only goal here. You may find that you're able to forgive your partner within a year, within 6 months, but being able to rebuild trust, to build understanding about the affair, to grieve the affair and the loss of the previous relationship that was there, and to make empowered decisions together. All of those things can take a long time. If the betrayer tries to rush the healing process, which I've seen in couples therapy sometimes, they can often create even more pain for their betrayed partner. That partner feels like it's not safe for them to express how they're feeling anymore. And they might still be experiencing all of the things we've mentioned before, those intrusive thoughts, those feelings of guilt, pain, of sadness, of grief. And they feel like they just can't express them anymore because their partner gets frustrated. They want to move on. And that creates real cycles of pain in the relationship. So you need to recognize that this work can't be shortcut. It's not just a checklist that you can go down and check off the boxes and easily see when the work is done. It's a process of re-earning trust and recreating a sense of felt safety in the body for both people. How do you create this sense of safety? Well, it helps to have structure. So this structure could look like weekly emotional check-ins with you and your partner to just understand what they're going through, how they're feeling during the week, anything that you can do to support them or create that safety for them. Shared rules that each of you have around boundaries with other people and connection that you form together, but also connection with outside parties too, okay? If your partner doesn't feel comfortable with you having really close relationships with members of the opposite sex, then that might be a boundary that you two need to discuss together moving forward. And that comes back to agreements around betrayal and what betrayal really looks like to the other person. The other thing here is ritualized ways of reconnecting with each other. It will take time to rebuild connection after that trust is broken. But if you have ritual ways of doing this, like expressing daily affection, having sources of open dialogue, or times when you're getting together to talk through things, that can be so helpful in creating a shared structure through which you can have the conversations necessary to rebuild that sense of safety and trust over time. The next piece to consider on your rehealing journey is that both partners need to do individual work. Reflection and healing is needed on both sides. For the betrayed, you're going to need support for your feelings of anger, your grief, and someone to help you process what meaning to make out of this. You need space to process the trauma symptoms that you're going through, and ideally, support from a therapist to help you understand how to process these difficult feelings, recognize your triggers, and work through them. And you need a chance to rebuild self-trust. This is one reason why repair takes so long. The person who's been betrayed doesn't necessarily trust themselves. They don't trust their world. They don't trust reality. So you need time to work through that and rebuild that sense of self-trust too. For the betraying partner, you need to develop insight into why you cheated in the first place. What was going on in the relationship or in you to push you towards that ultimate decision to betray your partner. Deep insight and self-reflection really is necessary for you to avoid something like this happening again. You need to work on understanding your attachment style and the patterns that underlie your response to your relationship. What caused you to go outside the relationship to seek comfort, safety, excitement, connection, whatever it was? Understand patterns that are underneath that. And finally, you need a source of accountability to keep you on the path towards personal growth. This is where, again, hiring a therapist, or in some cases a coach, can be really helpful to keep you focused on the journey ahead and what you need to continue to work on. And you need to be able to take accountability for the fact that you have things that you need to work through in order to show up as the best partner you can for the partner that you betrayed. The next step here is to avoid shame, but take full responsibility. Shame turns the focus inward. It makes you think, I'm a terrible person. And thinking that way leads to avoidance instead of accountability. Turning that shame inward is actually disempowering, takes you away from the relationship and stepping forward into that role where you're actually working on yourself. Instead, you're just getting down on yourself, you're being self-critical, and it creates a shame spiral that will keep you from truly engaging in the work needed to show up in the way that you want to for your partner. Responsibility is outward facing. It's, I caused this pain and I'm doing the work to repair it. Don't make this about you. Try not to spiral. And don't expect your partner to take care of your pain about the affair. That's not their job. The next step here is to avoid scorekeeping and deflection in this process. One of the most damaging things that a cheating partner can say is, well, you weren't perfect either. Even if that might be true, not relevant to the healing process. It's about repair. not blame balancing. Scorekeeping invalidates your partner's pain and it creates disconnection between you two. The next step is to normalize grief during this process. You can still love your partner and you can hate what they did. That can make you feel numb, devastated, and then hopeful, all in the same week. Grief is part of the healing. It's grief over the relationship that you thought you had, over lost innocence, of broken trust. Those feelings are totally normal. You are not broken. You're just a human being who has feelings. The last step in this process is to explore the roots of the disconnection that led to the affair in the first place, but to do so when the time is right. And honestly, that time may not be for a long time after the affair is originally discovered and when the recovery process begins. Once initial safety has been reestablished, and this can take time, often several months after the active affair is done, it can be valuable for both partners to begin to explore why the infidelity occurred in the first place. This is not about blaming the betrayed partner. Remember, if there was emotional distance or a lack of connection or decreased sexual intimacy in the relationship that the betraying partner felt like contributed to their desire to seek someone outside the relationship, those conditions may have contributed to the feelings of disconnection, but they did not cause the betrayal. The actions of the betraying partner caused the betrayal. And that's where that rebuilding trust process needs to occur first. After the betrayed partner feels consistently validated, emotionally safe, and no longer triggered on a daily basis. To rush into what was your role in this too soon only deepens the feeling of trauma. But when the time is right, this work can lead to what many couples call marriage 2.0, a deeper, more intentional connection built on clear boundaries and mutual growth for both partners. The betrayed partner can ask, I withdraw, protect myself, or disengage from this relationship. An unfaithful partner can ask, needs was I afraid to voice in the relationship? Together, they can begin co-creating a new relationship with their eyes wide open. And this is why sometimes an affair can really be a catalyst for exceptional growth in a relationship, in a new, stronger marriage than there ever was before. Remember, you're not weak if you stay. You're not broken if you leave. Crazy for being hurt months or even years later. Healing after infidelity is sacred work, and remorse, real remorse, is not just regret. It's responsibility. It's presence. It's the daily practice of becoming someone trustworthy. Let this be the beginning of something honest. Let it be the first moment of true repair. Make this into a relationship that's worth rebuilding. If you put in the effort, marriage 2.0, relationship 2.0 can actually be stronger, deeper, and have more clarity around what both parties actually want than the first one ever did. So if you made it this far in this very long video, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching. If you learned anything from this video, then please give this video a like, subscribe to my channel, send this video to someone who might benefit from it. The more that you do that, the more it builds momentum for the channel, and the more I can continue to make videos like this that hopefully are helping people. Thank you so much, and I'll see you again soon.